Lydia already kindly introduced me. I'm Laura, and I'm going to be presenting on this giant, huge title here. Don't worry if this makes sense yet, I'm going to explain it to you guys. So this is my honors thesis project, which combines economics and mathematics. I'm going to leave out most of the math for you guys, but I still have some pretty cool stuff that we're going to look at. Sweet. Okay, so the goal of my project was to find the economic value to the students of open space on Mary Baldwin College Campus. So what does that mean? So for economic value, what we're looking for is the price. This is also known as the willingness to pay for the students. So we're looking at what value, what price they would give to the open space that currently exists on campus. So open space, we're defining as the lawns and green space of campus. So those green expanses that you all walked past when you were walking in is what we're thinking about when we're talking about open space. So to find economic value, I used a survey that I administered to students across campus, whether or not they lived on or off campus. I only applied it to students because I didn't really have the time or available energy to administer my survey to staff or people that just visit from campus, even though other people use this campus besides the students. So in the end, my final results were a price range from $1,030.95 to $2,265.83 for all 50 acres of open space on campus. So that is a range of the average value that students give to all of the open space on campus. So how do we get there? So what open space is considered as is an environmental service. So environmental services are natural services that provide economic benefit somehow. There's huge different things that we can go into that, but mainly we're looking at the economic benefit of this open space. We don't really care about the real estate value. We care about the fact that you can run across Hunt Hill or that you can go sledding down the soccer field over there. That's what we care about. So in order to find this value, I used contingent valuation, which is a method that uses a survey to find the value that the students give to whatever you're trying to value. So in my case, it's open space. So I administered my survey to 77 students in total. My survey included background information, demographic questions, and it also proposed a hypothetical problem and policy solutions to that problem. So the problem that I proposed, hypothetically, was that the college needed to sell off the soccer field that's way over that way in order to raise money for the campus because the college needed more funds. And so then I proposed 3 different policy options that the students could answer questions about in order to save the soccer field. So policy A was a 2-semester increase in tuition. Policy B was a voluntary one-time donation. And then policy C was an 18-month increase in vending machine prices. So all of these policy options were followed by a question. And this question was, would you be willing to pay X number of dollars for whichever policy option in order to save the soccer field? So this is called the dichotomous choice question because you had one of 2 options. You could either say yes or you could say no. So the X value there was what we refer to as a bid price. So everybody was offered a randomly generated bid price for each one of these values, and then we were able to use some nice cool statistics to figure out the willingness to pay of all of the students using their responses to the randomly generated numbers. So what we did when we were analyzing our survey results was I used the Turnbull estimator and what's known as expected value in economic theory. Both of these are really complicated and I don't have time to explain them right now, but if you want to look them up later or ask me questions about them after this presentation, that's what they're called. So what I did was I found the price using expected value in the Turnbull estimator of different subgroups of respondents. So I mentioned on the last slide that I had demographic questions. And so what I did was I separated my responses and those willingness to pays by all of the different demographic questions. So we have whether or not students were paying their tuition, whether or not they're employed, and whether or not they lived on or off campus. So what we're looking at here for these different columns isn't the total willing to pay for students for all of the open space on campus. This one here is just for the soccer field. So this is how much students would be willing to pay over 2 semesters for the soccer field. This one is the voluntary one-time donation, and this one's vending machine prices just for the soccer field, which I then expanded to figure out that range that I showed you before. So the important things that we want to get from this table here are that if you look down this row and down this row, you'll notice that all of the values for policy A are a lot higher than the values for policy B. So students were willing to pay more for the soccer field and had a higher value if it was attached to their tuition payments rather than just a voluntary donation. Also, as you would expect, students who were paying their own tuition had a lower price that they would be willing to pay than students who were not paying their own tuition. Also, the most interesting finding that I found was that students who were employed across the board, across all 3 policy options, had higher willingness to pay than students who were unemployed, and students who lived off campus had higher values than students who lived on campus. So, in the end, we have our final range here of the willingness to pay of students from about $1,000 to a little over $2,000 for all of the open space on campus. And then we have these things, which I just said. And so what this means is that I have found some sort of values that can be used to give a more round picture of how students care about the open space on campus. We can also look at, we could do a cost-benefit analysis comparing how much is paid on campus, how much is paid to maintain the campus versus how much students actually care about the campus. My survey could be expanded to include the faculty. It could be expanded to include people who visit from the surrounding area because they live around here and they like using our expansive hills to walk their dogs and stuff like that. So the point of my project was to apply environmental economics to Mary Baldwin College because it is important. Lots of presentations that have gone before me have talked about sustainability. And I know that alumni and other people who donate to the college would like to be able to know that the causes that they're donating to are good ones and that their money is being well spent. So these conclusions here are helpful and they're a good starting point for any future research that might want to be done on the way students care about their campus and what we want out of our open space. And then, you know, we have dollar signs here, which is really useful if you're doing business analysis and like business analyses like Carolyn and Yenny were doing. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Why did you choose the soccer field to represent open space?
So I chose the soccer field to represent open space because it is easily detachable from campus. So in my survey, the soccer field was being sold to a developer so that they would build a building on it and it would be gone. And that open space would no longer be available to students. But I couldn't really do that with Hunt Hill or this hill right here down the side of Miller Chapel because they're detachable from campus, but the soccer field is kind of on the edge, so it was the only thing available to detach and sell off. So that's why I use soccer field. Any other questions? Yeah.
Do you have any theories as to why students not living on campus value the soccer field higher? Because you would think that students who live off campus would actually use it more often. So do you have a theory about that?
That was my original thought, but my theory that isn't backed up by any evidence or anything, though, is probably that students who live off campus may be employed, so it might work with that as well. But it also may be that maybe they have kids that they bring to visit campus, or maybe they are, even if they are not employed, that they might be more financially stable than students who are living on campus that are, you know, traditional students.